So I get the opportunity to kick things off with our first speaker, and it is such a privilege to have the opportunity to introduce her. I've known her for over 15 years, and that's Teresa Thomas. Teresa shares her passion for creating energizing connections through networking events, facilitated workshops, speaking, and writing. In 2007, Teresa took on the leadership of Minnesota Women in Networking, known as WIN, and to provide networking and professional development events for authentic, motivated women in business and to lift each other up for success. While Teresa has been a professional connector over 18 years, she's actually shy at heart. She enjoys sharing the out-of-the-box insights she has learned throughout her career to help others to effectively network with confidence. And many of these tips are included in her recently released networking guidebook, How to Tap into the Power of Win-Win Connections. Teresa believes in networking, that networking is really seeing the interconnectedness between all of us. It's about listening and noticing the ways we can lift each other up. Please join me in providing a warm welcome for Miss Teresa Thomas.
Good morning. As you've heard, I'm a connector, and yes, I am shy at heart. So my role today is to help all of you to make connections, because that's part of why you're here, right? So a little bit about me is that, yes, I am naturally shy, and what I do for a living is help connect people and help people be more effective and confident in their networking. And I have just a few minutes scattered throughout the day where I'll share tips. So at this time, I won't share you my whole story as how I went from being shy to my big wake-up moment about how I wanted to step in to this world and this life and be more involved and more connected with people. But if you're interested in hearing that story, I'd be very happy to share it with you. So anyway, you're all here to make connections. So the first tip that I'm going to start with today is you've got busy lives, right? And you're running around and you're going to different events and you're meeting with clients and you're trying to get a lot of things done. And so sometimes maybe you show up at an event without a clear goal as to why you're there. And what I want to help you do right now is think about, why did you sign up to come to this event today? What are you hoping to learn? What connections are you hoping to make? And what do you want people to remember you for? Okay? So take that in and think about what it is that you want to leave here feeling like, okay, I was able to accomplish this. So whenever you're meeting somebody, think about that key goal, because it'll instruct the way you introduce yourself, and it'll instruct the way that the types of questions that you ask to make the kinds of connections that you're seeking. All right? So just take a moment and just close your eyes, okay? And think about a few things. One, when you signed up to come today, what were you hoping that you would receive? Two, what types of connections are you hoping that you will be making today? And three, how do you hope that people will remember you? What is the main thing that you want people to retain after having met you? Okay, you can open your eyes. And now I'm hoping that you have more clarity, so that in those little brief moments you have in making interactions, that you know exactly the thing that you want to talk about. You've all been to events, right, where you meet somebody and you hear the whole life story, and then you don't remember anything, right? Okay, so we don't want to do that. We do want to know each other, and over time we may get to know more and more, but today we'll be really clear about why we're here and what we can be doing for each other. So that's my first tip for today. The next tip that I'm going to share is, maybe when you are networking, you get a little bit nervous. What am I going to say, and how are they going to remember me? And you're so in your head that you actually hold yourself back from making that real connection. So what I like to suggest is, every time I'm networking and trying to make business connections, I always use the approach of, how can this be a win-win connection? Not just about me and what I'm getting from it, but how can I make sure that this is going to be valuable for them? And it can be really as simple as suggesting somebody that they might want to meet, or telling them about a resource, or anything that makes their experience better will help you to get out of your head, and you'll be much more memorable. Even if you don't share everything that you had intended, that person will remember you and they'll want to come back. So having that win-win approach, you'll be memorable, and you'll start a conversation and potentially it will go further. I'll give one other tip, is that there tends to be two different kinds of people. So a member of ours kind of gave me a lecture. It was a wake-up call, and maybe you'll resonate with this. So I told you that I have this win-win approach to networking, and what she said, Teresa, she said, I need your tips because I'm the type of person that I only think about myself, and I have to remind myself that there are other people and that I could be useful. So she said, I started trying to be a better resource to people, and now I'm getting more referrals, I'm getting people remembering me more. She's like, but Teresa, you know what your problem is? And this is what I think a lot of you will relate to. She's like, you think so much about how you can help the other person that sometimes you forget about what you need as well. Okay, so think about do you tend to gravitate to one side or the other? Are you this type of person who's always helping, so you put yourself last? Or are you the type of person that's like, it's all about you, and then you have to remind yourself, like, oh no, it's not all about me. We're all connected. We all can help each other out. If you know kind of where you're at on that scale, you can pull in that other side of how you can be a helpful resource, as well as getting what you need out of your connections. So thank you. All right, so Bill and Ron just talked about how success doesn't happen in a vacuum. We don't do it on our own, we do it with other people. But oftentimes you'll come into a room and you know that there's potential to meet the 10% that Ron was talking about, but the other 90% are connected people who know you. And it can be a little challenging to navigate that. So I'm going to give you a quick story and a tip. And if you can imagine, several years ago, I went to something called the Innovation Uncensored Conference in New York City. It was from my very favorite magazine, Fast Company. And there were less than 250 people in the room for this full-day innovation conference. And it was a little intimidating because we had executives from DreamWorks Animation, and we had the CEO of Nike, and the CEO of Seventh Generation, and I mean, all the people that you read about in the magazine were there amongst this small group of people, and I was a little bit intimidated. And you know what I heard from all these people that I had on a pedestal? They were all intimidated. The biggest complaint they had was that there was nothing to help them to network and meet each other, and there are all these great minds in the room. So I put into play one of the tips that I share with people that I use myself. And what I did was something very similar to what Ron was suggesting, is when I meet somebody, I was clear on my goal, and I would say, oh, it's been so nice to meet you. Have you met anyone else who, and then I would say what my goal is. Have you met anyone else who serves the same target market? Or have you met anyone else who's doing exciting things in this area? And then what happened was two different things. Some of them would say, why, yes, I was just talking to one of the writers at Fast Company, and she said that she's really interested in that topic too. And then she walked me right over and introduced me to the speaker that I wouldn't have met otherwise. And then other times they would say, oh yeah, so-and-so right across the room would be somebody that you want to connect with. And then I was able to close the conversation and say thank you so much and how valuable that was. And then I'd have a soft way of being introduced to that person, because I could say, so-and-so suggested I talk with you about this particular subject. So do you see what I'm saying? It's a way to exit a conversation to lead you to another connection that can be really powerful and help move you toward your goal. And you can provide that to other people as well. When you're making great connections, you can say, oh, I just met someone that I think you should meet. May I introduce you? So if you can imagine that and try that toward the end of the day, ask each other who you found that you think would be good resources for each other, and you'll get even further along on your journey. Thank you.